We're talking about the history of cancel culture. Buckle up, sit tight, and get ready to get canceled because everybody's getting canceled nowadays.
And if you don't watch what you're saying, you're next.
More than likely. And even if you die, you're most likely next.
Even if you're silent.
Silence is complicit. In fact, silence is violence. Let's talk about it. All right, what's up, everyone? I am Dustin Bass.
And I'm Alan Wakim.
And we are the Sons of History. We've got a fun and enlightening and just delightful show for you. You're going to get a lot of laughs, and while you're laughing, we'll probably have been canceled by then. We're talking about cancel culture, and what a freaking disaster the modern era is.
And you know what really sucks is the fact that so many people are justifying everything that's taking place.
Yeah.
Oh, well, they're the company who owns the property, so therefore, that's capitalism. And I hear that from a lot of people who hate capitalism.
And I
think they're using this as a way to end capitalism by showing
the Trojan horse method. You see, you don't really want this.
Yeah.
You don't really want this because if you had it to where it was socialism or whatever tyranny and the government was in control, this wouldn't happen. Everything would be protected. BS. It's a game, but as our good friend Joshua Phillip always says, they use your own method against you. So, hey, before we get into the whole cancel culture, the history of it, and even the brief history of it, we're actually going to go way back several hundred years. We're going to give our book and movie recommendation.
Why don't you go first?
All right. My movie recommendation is not really a movie in singular terms, but it is a plethora of movies. Abbott and Costello, Bud Abbott and Lou Costello. Did you ever watch that growing up?
Yeah, quite a bit.
I love Bud Abbott and Lou Costello. You know who else loves Bud Abbott and Lou Costello? Jerry Seinfeld. That guy is on his way to getting canceled.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's going to be canceled.
Yeah, dead. So,
His
Abbott and Costello.
Highly offensive.
Oh, extremely offensive. I can't even watch it anymore because I just sit there in tears at the anger and anguish that I feel constantly with every word that is being put forth. Abbott and Costello, that's what I grew up on. I grew up on Abbott and Costello and a lot of old comedians. But Abbott and Costello with... See, I even got I even got one back there. Hold That Ghost. I think Hold That Ghost was actually the first one that I ever saw. Hold That Ghost, Who Done It, meet Frankenstein, meet, the Wolfman. It's great stuff. Old school comedy, clean, and unfortunately, from the era that it's in, I can definitely foresee them being canceled despite the fact that they were a couple of really good gentlemen. But if you want some good, clean laughs, and you really want to teach your kids, maybe even yourself, like the beginnings of American comedy, I would indulge and invest in Abbott and Costello. So really good stuff, and that's why I think that I'm so funny.
Einstein's funny?
Yeah.
Right.
All right. My book recommendation is another guy that should be canceled. For obvious reasons, Aristotle.
Well, the guy who taught him, his instructor was canceled.
Yeah, that's true.
Socrates,
Plato.
Was Plato canceled?
No, I'm just saying, but I think you were going to... Yeah. I was just giving the lineage.
Yeah.
Socrates,
yes.
Plato, Aristotle.
Right. And then Aristotle, who his...
his protege was, as Socrates said, once you have a king who is also a philosopher, you're set for life. And boy, was that true with Alexander the Great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Marcus Aurelius, he was also...
he was a philosopher king. Yes. And everybody loved him. And then he produced a son that was terrible.
Yeah. The empire went to the toilet after that, or the commode.
Yeah.
Get it? Yeah.
All right. So, Aristotle's, and I know this says politics and poetics, but... Aristotle's politics. Everything is politics. I want people to understand, and this will give you sort of the basis of politics, but it's a really great book. A lot of incredible thoughts in there, obviously from Aristotle. People, we need to understand that what the battles are right now, it's not about gender, it's not about race, it's not about anything like that. It's really not even, well, when it comes down to religion, you could say that. But honestly, it really all is about politics. It's about politics. Who's in power, who wants power, and what party. It's party faction, as James Madison wrote extensively, but primarily in Federalist Paper 10. You need to read that. But it's political faction. It is Democrats against Republicans right now, as the parties are. And they're just trying to eat each other. And then you have even the Democrat Party and the Republican Party factions within those parties. It's all politics. So when everybody's, oh, this is a race issue. No, honestly, it's not. Because when you start saying, okay, well, what about this instance? Well, if it doesn't line up politically, it doesn't really matter.
No, I think of Clarence Thomas, the way they tried to silence him because of his differing views. So
Yeah. But it wasn't a race issue, was it? No, it was unbelievable. Politics. All right, what you got?
Okay, my book and movie recommendations. Now, in terms of books, I'm going to recommend this book, Lasalle's Expedition to Texas. Now, what does this have to do with us? Us being in Texas. You've heard of the Six Flags over Texas?
Mm-hmm.
Well, at one point, the French, under Louis XIV,
Had a flag.
the 14th, yeah. That's the Sun King. He owned Texas, or controlled Texas. So, and LaSalle was part of the reason. So, yeah, if you want to read a good Texas history, American history also, LaSalle, because the French did control parts of what is now the United States. Louisiana Purchase, because of people like LaSalle. So now, funny that this book should lead me into the movie recommendations, which also leads into the whole subject at hand. You know what that's about, don't you? I went to this bookstore. I hope
I know what it's about.
Yeah, I went to this bookstore that you're familiar with. What is it? The Good Books in the Woods.
Good Books in the Woods.
Good book in the woods, or Good Books in the Woods.
What? It wouldn't be Good Book in the Woods if he would only sell one book.
Only been there once. But I saw, I was going to buy it online, and I saw, okay, this book that I want to purchase, that LaSalle book, happens to be, in the Woodlands area. So I was like, okay, well, I have to drive by there. So rather than pay $4 shipping, and I have to drive by there anyway, might as well go pick it up. Mm-hmm. And I meet Jay. He says he knows who you are. Felt sorry for me.
Yeah.
He's
I bet he did.
Yeah. He thought you were a
nice guy.
Yeah.
Move on.
Anyway, so I'm buying all these books, and then he says to me, hey, who you just missed? Dinesh D'Souza. I'm like, what? Where? Because I'm a big fan of Dinesh.
Yeah, when you said where, was he like, you just missed him?
Well, I know, but...
Did he punch you? I would have punched you.
No, he was on the other side of his desk.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. But he knew better than... look at me.
Look at you.
Look at my arm. Look at that. See that?
All right, move on.
Okay, so anyway... All right, so he tells me, what kind of car he had, and yeah, he just left. I was like, damn it. So I pack up all my books, and I walk outside quite grumpily, I might add, because I'm, just missed the guy.
Right.
Big fan of his.
Of course.
I own one of his movies,
There you go.
So.
As do I.
Do you? Okay, well, there you go. You know what? I should mention the movie review or movie recommendation, shouldn't I?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, well, so I'm just going to show you this real quick. Now, he came out with a movie. I don't know if you can see it. It says 2016 Obama's America. Mm-hmm. Good movie. I have that at home.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I go to my car, and the car, not my car, but the car next to mine was the one that was described. That was his car. I don't want to mention what it was.
Okay.
So I look, and there he is. He's sitting in there, right next to me,
waiting for you. He knew you were going to be there. He knew. You're like, did I just
Providence
preemptively miss Alan Wakim?
Yeah. So I was like, rolled down the window, and I'm like, hey, big fan of yours, and slobbered all over him,
Yeah, gave him a big hug.
Yes,
I've got COVID.
Yes. Well, he didn't. Well, I'm not gonna mention anything, but he was real nice, and I was like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna take your picture, and would you like to be a guest on our podcast? Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, he wants, He said, I'll call you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was one of those things.
I'm like, all right. Well,
what do you want me to say?
Like, okay,
I'll give it some thought.
Yeah. So he's about to pull away, and I'm like, wait, don't you want my phone number first?
How do I contact you?
Yeah. Oh, don't worry, I'll find you. If it's meant to be, I'll find you.
Exactly.
So I hand him my card.
Yeah.
But he does let me take a couple of photos of him.
Yeah, yeah.
But he gives me his email address. Hopefully it's not a fake email address. You know, like all the girls when I used to meet them at clubs, I'd call them up and, you know.
Oh man.
Fake phone numbers.
555.
Yeah. Yeah. How did you know?
It's on Dumb and Dumber.
Okay. I don't remember that part.
Well, the number's 555-905. Wait a minute, that's my old number.
Anyway, so yeah, right. So Dinesh D'Souza, hopefully he'll be on our show one of these days. He'll be on, you know.
Well, there you go.
That would be great, you know.
Yeah.
Interview
And
him.
speaking of Dinesh D'Souza, he was one of the people who were more or less canceled. He was one of the
unjustly,
early ones,
I might add.
with the freaking. I think the judge even was like, "It's time for you to become re-educated," which is it should be a scary term, especially when it comes from like a judge. Yikes! Show trial much?
That's the growing trend nowadays.
It is the growing trend. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking about cancel culture. And what is cancel culture? Cancel, as Sean Connery would say, cancel culture. Cancel culture, according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary online at least, it sort of has it as this. It says, removing of support for public figures in response to their objectionable behavior or opinions. Yeah. This can include boycotts or refusal to promote their work. And that has become, it's not even like their opinions or their behavior. A lot of times it's become their perceived opinion or their perceived behavior. Or the opposite of what Martin Luther King said, content of the character. Mm-hmm. It's become the skin.
Right.
Skin situation.
Or it's perhaps that they didn't do enough.
They didn't do enough.
Yeah,
like Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
You didn't do enough.
Yeah.
Put forth the Emancipation Proclamation. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I sent people in to fight, the Civil War, which ultimately, no. Not enough. Not enough. Somebody blew my brains out, right? Not enough. Never enough. Yeah. In fact, for a lot of people, it is never enough. So what's been canceled? Let's go through just a brief list here. I want to give just a few.
Okay.
Recently?
Yeah.
Pepe Le Pew.
Yeah,
Unbelievable. Rape culture. It's like, really? Pepe Le Pew? Looney Tunes Pepe Le Pew is contributing to rape culture?
Doesn't the cat usually beat his butt?
Yeah.
Can I say beat his ass?
Something. Well, you already said it.
All right. Yeah. The cat usually beats his ass. You know?
Yeah,
and he looks foolish by trying to, chase
and he's French.
Yeah. I mean, come on, he's French. What do you expect?
And it's like the French didn't take offense to it. No. Anyways, rape culture. That's rape culture, but not, all the other things. Like you posted on your Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody said, I'm so glad.
I'm so glad that my kids are now safe. Now they can go back to playing Grand Theft Auto and killing. Where's that? I think killing that hooker.
Set a hooker on fire.
Yeah.
Because so they didn't have to pay her.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, that has nothing to do with rape culture, or the music that we listen to, or the movies that we watch, TV shows. No, that Pepe Le Pew gotta go.
Yeah,
gotta go. Dr. Seuss. Dr. Seuss was one of those guys, one of the ones that I thought, this one is one you can't touch. You're not gonna be able to mess with Dr. Seuss because this guy was just one of those Mr. Rogers types of people, and I guarantee you, Mr. Rogers is probably gonna get canceled sometime. Who knows why? If Dr. Seuss can get canceled, Mr. Rogers gotta get canceled.
I heard Mr. Rogers could, based on a photo that's being circulated right now, but I have not been able to confirm it.
Yeah.
But if what I read is true, there's a possibility that Mr. Rogers will be canceled.
Mr. Potato Head. How ridiculous. Mr. Potato Head is now
I don't
just
get that.
Potato Head.
What is that about?
Because there's no such thing as gender, you bigot. Anyways... Speedy Gonzalez.
You didn't have to talk to me in such a manner.
What's it? Alex Jones. Alex Jones.
Jones.
And here's the thing: when Alex Jones got canceled and canned by Apple and all those, we're not going to hold your podcast and everything like that. It was one of those things where I was like, well, if he kept going against whatever that were the terms and conditions, and this was like a couple of years ago, I was like, okay. Well, maybe. But the thing is like the problem with that is that when you, and we'll discuss, when you give an inch, it's like they won't just take a mile. They'll take eternity infinity. It's just, it will not stop. So Alex Jones, as crazy and and conspiracy theory as he may be, a lot of times when he brings out stuff, they wind up happening, and then people are, oh, this happened, but you disavow what he said prior.
This is where I've been telling people that if a show is going to die, the best way to let it die is the slow death of the market killing it.
Yeah.
Not when you still have support or demand for the show, and somebody decides for you to kill the show.
And you know what, Alex Jones, really smart guy, because he built his own infrastructure. He's like, I don't need anything else. I built everything on my own. So when things like Parler went out, he's like, you should have followed the path that Alex Jones set forth. Anyways, Brett Weinstein, the professor out in Washington. He was a professor, I forgot what college it is, but he was more or less kept from his class and kicked out, and all the students surrounded him, and he was trying to explain the situation, and one of the girls was like, you lost that right to speak. And it's like, this is, what was that movie or that book, Lord of the Flies? That is what it was like. All the children surrounded in their glory.
I saw that video. I saw that video. He was trying to explain, and he was explaining
all of their
rationally.
wisdom. Yeah, because it was, the school had set forth a policy that black people or people of color could take a day off for, I don't know, some type of reparation type of thing. So they could all take a day off for mental anguish or something along those lines. Well, that year, they were demanding that white people or white students not come to school for a day in retribution of some, whatever. And so when he wrote something about, hey, this is not a good idea and this is why, he was surrounded by the Lords of the Flies and were screamed at. And guess what? As predicted, and extremely predictable now, the college did not have his back.
Well,
So
we saw what happened to Piggy.
yeah. I thought you meant I went off. Yeah, Piggy was stoned, freaking rock right to the face.
Yeah.
I mean, you had the glasses on, they had broken glasses.
Chased old Ralph everywhere.
That really hurt me as a kid when I saw that.
When I read that, I actually, my heart, I mean, he's a fictional character, but my heart went out to Piggy. I was like going, that is not cool.
Not cool, man. Leave Piggy alone. And you know what? These are all little piggies. Papa John's owner, remember that whole situation?
I mean, the guy's, he
wasn't even, they were like, oh, he said the N-word. Like, no, he was saying, it was repeating something, and it was something that was like, here's what we can't be doing or whatever, and he's repeating something, but he didn't just outright and say it. The board, it's his company that he founded and created, and they kicked him out. Yeah. That's wild stuff. Yeah. So he was gone. Barry Weiss over at the New York Times.
I don't know.
You gotta go.
Yeah.
Her. Yeah.
Her?
Yeah.
What did she do?
She was just saying, like, hey, the environment over here at the New York Times, it's getting to the point where it's all cancel culture. It's like, it's too left. It's like, she was sort of a progressive conservative or moderate liberal, however you want to put it. Mm-hmm. And the sharks started circling. And they're like, no, you got to go.
Okay. Well.
J.K. Rowling, they attempted to cancel her.
I remember reading
but it's one of those things like, you're too powerful to be canceled. But because she was, and they're like, oh, she's anti-transgender and all this stuff. It's like, no, she just has, a viewpoint that, one, scientifically makes sense. And then Rush Limbaugh, there was even a book written about things that he said, but the guy actually made up a lot of the quotes. And guess what? Those quotes continue to be repeated by people and say, oh, he's racist. And like, oh, really? Can you back up and find where this quote comes from? Like, no.
They can't.
No. And they'll always say, like, we can't really find this quote, but we know he said it.
You know what it reminds me of is I had a discussion with people regarding Christopher Columbus. And every single person that was anti-Christopher Columbus was quoting Howard Zinn.
Yeah.
And it was straight out of Mary Grabar's book. I mean, I was laughing because because Dr. Mary Graybar, she was a guest on our show before, and she was stating this is what they're saying, and they're quoting it, and it was like clockwork. I mean, they were quoting the paragraphs that Howard's in.
Yeah.
It's like they just did a copy and paste.
Yes.
And I was like, and I was telling them, go look at his actual diary, his journal, and you will see that that's not what he wrote. That's not how he wrote it. Those were like spread out over several days. It wasn't one paragraph. So, it's just if you tell a lie enough times,
it becomes true.
That's right.
Yeah, and especially if people they want to buy into it. Gone with the Wind. Gone with the Wind was taken down for a little while, and then it was put back up with a disclaimer. These things, something may be insensitive. You know why they're doing that? You know why they're doing that? Because they think you're incapable of looking out for yourself, making your own decisions, filling things out on your own, having an understanding, maybe even with the Gone with the Wind, having an understanding of the Civil War era, the slavery era. So, God forbid that you, as an adult, actually have some semblance of sanity and understanding of what happened in the world. So we got to protect you from you. Yeah. Gina Carano, unbelievable. Like you read her tweet, and it's just like, get real.
Yeah,
like this is offensive.
Well, the guy that does the main guy in The Mandalorian, he did a Hitler quote himself.
Yeah,
he's still on the show.
He's still on the show, and that's why it's politics, because she's conservative.
Yeah.
It's utterly.
It wasn't anything
nonsense.
bad.
No,
it wasn't bad.
It was a warning, and Tim Allen did a warning about that. And Tim Allen actually was one that was canceled.
He was
his
canceled.
show.
Yeah, his show was canceled.
His show got canceled. And he was saying Hollywood has become like Nazi Germany of like 1939. So this is something that is taking place, and it's only certain people of a particular political standing that keep getting canceled. Professors. And it's funny, especially in New York, and it's like Northeast particularly, but New York and the West Coast, if they speak out, or even not even speak out, just speak some common sense, you're done. You're done, kid. And there was one professor over at USC they were Chinese, they were discussing like Chinese culture or Chinese history. And it was a word that sounded like the N-word, but it was a Chinese word that stood for that. You're gone. You're gone because you said a Chinese word that sounded like an American word. Like, that's the world we're living in. Have you noticed that big corporate and cancel culture are sort of playing with each other? Like, they're hand in hand. Like hand in glove.
They've been doing that. I mean, Toyota.
Joke.
Toyota did an ad one time, and Jesse Jackson came in and shut it down. But, of course, you got a big payout for it, too. And now, was it Coca-Cola?
Yeah, Coca-Cola.
Wants you to be less white?
Yeah. I can't drink Coke anymore.
Okay, then why are you naming your product after a white product? Coke. Well
played.
You like that?
That was very clever. Yeah.
Anyway,
so I wonder, I wonder what the Christmas cans are going to look like this coming year.
Oh, God.
I don't even
don't even get me started on
okay. All right. So there's also, I would like to discuss this one day, but the scandal that is college to corporate America, the necessity of a college degree in order to get into corporate America. It's such a scam. It is such a freaking scam. And this is more or less, it's an extremely modern day scam, like last 30, 40 years. But people are getting scammed, and they're leaving school with $50,000, $60,000 in debt, if not more.
And you can't declare bankruptcy. You have to pay it.
No, you have to pay that. Yeah. Especially if you take a federal loan. Like, well, how many people take the federal? 9 out of 10 students take out a federal loan. So the Walk Away campaign, you wanted to talk about this guy. He got canceled.
Yeah, and his website was canceled. I believe Twitter, not his website, but his Facebook, his Twitter, all the shut down.
And he's gay.
He's a gay man who's like going, you know what?
And you would think because sort of a protected class. No. Right. Why?
Well, he was stating that, that the Democrat Party was playing against us, using us, and he's like, he actually, the guy who founded that campaign was listening to things that President Trump actually said compared to what the Democrat Party stated he was saying.
Right.
And he was like, wait a minute, these things just don't add up. And so he created a new campaign to get Democrats to walk away, and they shut him down.
Shut him down. Had to. So you've got a bag of movies.
Yes, I do. Quite a few of them, actually. You actually had a few yourself.
Yes.
Look at this. Bond.
Now, let me ask you a question. These are ones that you think are going to get canceled,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Before we get to that,
Okay.
you mentioned Donald Trump.
Yeah.
That is the ultimate cancellation.
Yes.
He was the president of the United States of America, the most powerful man, not just in America, but the most powerful person in the world.
Yeah.
Canceled. Why? Politics.
Yeah.
It's politics. I'm so sick and tired of people saying, no, that was offensive. No, you're full of BS. It is politics. And as of right now, the Democrats are on the winning side. Look, I don't care about your party preference. I really don't. You know, there is a pure sense of party preference because there are certain things that people stand for. But there is a party that is protected by the cancel culture group. And that party is the Democrat Party. Like, well, what about, Cuomo? He was protected even by having the death of thousands of people on his hands. But once, these sexual
Well, once the election
harassment
was over,
yeah.
once the whole election season was over, everything
It's the
started
Yuri
coming out.
Bezmenov, like, once they're done with you, you useful idiot. That's what it is. He was a useful idiot. You're done. You got us where we wanted to go. We made a poster for you, a propaganda poster for you. But now you're done. We're going to line you up. We're going to shoot you.
Yeah.
Not, in reality, but hypothetically.
Yeah, that's what Stalin did to a lot of his buddies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Yuri Bezmenov, if you've never watched Yuri Bezmenov, watch one of his films, watch one of his videos, and he breaks that down for you. The Founding Fathers, Thomas Jefferson, even Abraham Lincoln, they're on the cancel culture, or they're on the cancellation list. They're taking names down from high schools, different things like that. So they're done.
Yeah, like in San Francisco, they are removing the names of schools.
And don't say, oh, this is just California, or it's America.
Yeah.
It is coming in. It's all.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I've had a lot of debates with people on Facebook, and they're justifying everything. They are justifying everything. They're saying, well, it's the owner of a company. They can do whatever they want. It's funny.
It's like
when I'm not saying I'm for or against, but a lot of the bakers and photographers who didn't want to, it's not that they didn't want to take pictures of gay people, but they didn't want to participate in a gay event like a wedding. And they're like, look, goes against my religion. Well, it's a private company. Guy was like, I can steer you to someone who can help you out. Yeah. Well, that wasn't good enough. So they would sue these bakers. They would sue these photographers to the point where these guys were going out of business or they were going bankrupt because they were being sued over and over and over again. Okay, well, when it's a private company like that, well, no, you can't do what you want to do.
Yeah,
but if it's a private company,
all of a sudden it's discrimination.
Right. Well, now the private companies can do whatever they want, unless of course they want to open during the COVID season. Then they can't do that.
No.
You have to comply.
Right.
But they're using and here's what's funny. They'll say, well, that's capitalism. That's the definition of capitalism. And I just like, no, that's not the definition of capitalism. And the funny thing is that the people who say that usually don't support capitalism anyway.
Right.
These are people, and I know this because they're my friends or they're people I know, that they are socialists or they prefer socialism, and they're using capitalism against it. They're using this policy against capitalism, stating, well, and it's like, that's not what capitalism is. Capitalism is where the market decides the fate of a product. Now, there's a high demand for Dr. Seuss products. There's a high demand for many of these movies that, there's a high demand for Donald Trump. He had what? How many people voted for him? 70-something?
75 million?
Okay, let's say 75 million. Okay, voted for him. Okay, that's a high demand. Yeah. You don't cancel somebody because we know what's best for you, and then you call that capitalism. Capitalism is that, it would be like maybe say Richard Nixon or Jimmy Carter near the end of their terms where nobody's supporting them and there are few supporters. And so the market decides it's time you went.
Yeah.
TV shows. You don't cancel a TV show or a movie that is popular.
Right.
You let the people stop buying the product. This is why I was always against people saying we need to ban The View or MSNBC. No, I mean, I don't like The View. I don't watch The View, okay? But that's how I participate. I don't give them my money. I don't support them. But if somebody wants to watch The View, okay, let them watch it.
Yeah.
But don't shut it down simply because I don't like it.
Right.
So...
Because we look at it in the long term.
Yeah, because, if right now things are going your way, but what if later on things aren't going their way? The Latino community that's slowly taking over the country, they're very religious. They're very family oriented. And, they're, like here in Texas, a lot of the Latinos and Hispanics in Texas are primarily conservative. So, that's going to work against them eventually. I don't think they realize that, but it will.
Yeah.
Maybe they're another generation or two, but yeah, wait until it's your turn. That's
Yeah. Well, I don't know if we'll have to wait long. All right. So your possible list of things that are going to be canceled.
okay. I do have my little bag of goodies here, but
Yes.
now my list. I came up with this list based on the fact that they have been designated as racist, sexist, homophobic, Islamophobic, anti-Semitic, or just a general lack of diversity.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yes.
So let's begin.
Yes.
Okay. Breakfast at Tiffany's, Lord of the Rings, Stanley Kubrick movies, Home Alone 2.
Why Home Alone 2?
Donald Trump is in it.
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah, you know that Macaulay Culkin wants that whole scene edited out.
Macaulay Culkin is a kid who has his life together.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
Yes, he does.
Very
All right.
stable child.
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, When Worlds Collide, the original Star Wars, Episode 4, 1977.
Leave this alone. Look, I know Santa Claus is a jerk in this movie. I have no problem saying that.
Yeah.
But leave this alone.
Yeah, they turn away.
It's actually one of
they
my
don't
favorite, if not my favorite Christmas movie.
Tarzan movies.
Yeah.
All the Tarzan movies.
Gotta go.
MASH. All the James Bond. James Bond is going to be canceled, folks.
They better not.
Yeah. I like... Come on.
How can you not?
How can you do that to James Bond? All right.
Sean Connery would roll over in his grave.
Yes,
God
he
bless
would.
his heart.
Yes, he would. Let's see. James Bond, Grease, John Wayne movies like
Yeah.
The Searchers.
Yeah, they want to get rid of him.
16 Candles. In fact, many of the John Hughes movies in general will probably be canceled.
And John Hughes is...
Who is he? He did 16 Candles, Weird Science.
he's
16
gotta go.
Candles. Remember Long Duck Dong? Did you ever see 16 Candles?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very funny movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, Long Duck Dong, pretty much that right there alone they would
The
cancel.
Long Duck Dong.
Yeah.
I've only seen it once.
And we need the gong. They played the gong every time they mentioned his name in the background. But it's a funny movie. I mean,
Yeah.
it came out in the 80s. Come on, folks. Quit judging things by today's standards. The Iliad would have been... The Iliad and the Odyssey would be canceled.
Yeah.
You realize that? Okay, so Revenge of the Nerds, Saturday Night Fever, Blazing Saddles, Airplane, Stripes, Caddyshack, Animal House, Silver Streak, Pulp Fiction, True Romance, just about anything that has to do with Quentin Tarantino. Soul Man, Psycho,
Tarzan.
Shenandoah, Seinfeld.
So you got all of these.
I happen to have these.
Did you go buy all of these
Seinfeld.
for the show?
No, well, you know what? I wanted to get the Tarzan. I bought the Tarzan Johnny Weissmuller
Yeah.
ones and Psycho because...
And this is mine.
Yeah, that's his. Seinfeld.
Big Seinfeld fan.
Friends. South Park. The Jeffersons. All in the Family.
Yeah.
Sanford and Son. Now, and then let's look at authors.
Mm-hmm.
Ernest Hemingway. Mark Twain.
I better not touch those guys.
John Steinbeck. F.
But
Scott
they're already doing that.
Yeah, I know. F. Scott Fitzgerald, Joseph Conrad, J.D. Salinger, Albert Camus. You could even get rid of the Bible.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, you will.
Yeah, if you're a Muslim, Okay, Muhammad. Hey,
Quran's got to go.
Muhammad owned slaves.
Yeah.
You know who else owned slaves?
Gots to go.
You know who else owned slaves? King David.
Abraham.
King David. Yeah, Abraham had slaves. That's right.
Ibrahim.
Ooh, you know what? That covers the 3 monotheistic religions
There
right
you
there.
go.
Abraham.
Gotta go.
Gotta go. And no more churches, synagogues, mosques.
Did you see that?
I would love to
that
see
video
them.
of that one kid who seemed completely out of his mind, and he was talking about the moment where Jesus tells the woman who is I think she's a Samaritan, and he's like, it's not good for me to give.
Oh, I think at
dogs.
Jacob's Well or something like that.
And it's like, I can't give to the dogs. And they're like, Jesus, a racist, like, question mark. Right? And like, this woman spoke truth to power. And I was just like, it's cringeworthy, but it's like, that is where the world is. That is where society is, that anything and everything is up for, let's go ahead and dissect this. I don't need any understanding about anything. I can just get on a camera and go and just make a point. That is actually not a point.
Did you see that tweet by that hog kid? That about Jesus owning an AR-15, and someone responded, "Well, the government did kill him.
not enough." And he's like, "How many AR-15s did Jesus have?"
Not enough
not
because
enough
the
to
government
keep the government from killing him.
Yep.
Oh man, good stuff. Yeah. All right, so I want to say this: I encourage people to buy the physical copies of certain things, movies, books. Whatever it is, I would buy the physical copies because everything is like digitized, and Netflix is so wonderful, and the Amazon Fire Stick is so great. That stuff is going to go away. They're going to edit or they're going to remove certain things. You better get ahead of that and start buying stuff.
Yeah, Song of the South. You can't find that anymore. Yeah. That was, one of Disney's.
It's going to go.
Yeah.
Now, I was reading an article on Medium, and this guy by the name of Jeremy Helliger, he was blaming cancel culture on conservatives. So he was going back, all the way back, interestingly enough, to the Salem witch trials and started pulling that stuff out. It's just like, okay, quite a stretch. Well, his article is so poorly written, and obviously it's Medium, so it's all of his people more or less that are going to follow him. Like, you've got followers, so they're following your work. Pretty much all of the comments on there was like, what are you talking about? This is like, you are totally missing the point. And in fact, you're missing the point, but at the same time making the point of this is part of the problem. It's like you're blaming somebody else for something that is detrimental to society as a whole.
Wasn't now, not that I'm trying to get too riled up or anything like that, but what's that thing about the believe women?
All women?
Yeah, believe all women.
Yeah.
That is how the whole Salem witch trials began. So, maybe, I know I like to bring up that book, the one with Atticus Finch,
Yeah.
Where Tom Robinson, I think, got the Me Too movement.
Yeah, the Me Too. Yeah,
so,
she just was like, he raped me, and I'm like, no, I didn't. Like, well, she said you did. You got to believe all women.
Yeah.
So yeah, Bill Burr does a great job on a bet, and he's like, people keep saying believe all women. All of them?
What I kind of
it's like saying believe all men.
Yeah, I'm kind of
no. You don't believe all men. You don't believe all people.
No,
it's ridiculous.
You have to give due process. That's where the word due process comes in. Yeah, that's where the word innocent before
proven guilty.
And
that's one of the basis of American culture is, and that's well before America came into existence. That's British law. Speaking of the American Revolution, there was an article written in the Saturday Evening Post, which is a pretty good piece on American Revolution cancel culture. I thought it did a pretty good job. It's an interesting case that the person brings up. But what it misses is that the cancel culture of the American Revolution, if you want to call it that, if we can call it the cancel culture of the colonial period, was because the British were actually going against British values. Like, they were just, the colonists were like, we are British, and we abide by British common law. We are under the British Constitution. So everything that happens over there happens here. We're abiding in step with them. And then all of a sudden, the British government, the king, is like, no, we're changing all of that. So that was what this person sort of misses, because now the cancel culture is in and of itself against American culture. The cancel culture is against American values. In the American Revolution, it was the British government that was against British values, and it was actually the people, the cancel culture, who were trying to promote and defend British values.
Well, yeah, like
now it's opposite.
during the Boston Tea Party, the reason why they destroyed the tea was because the government was trying to force the people to specifically buy this one product because there was a monopoly, and you had to pay a tax, which they did not consent to.
Yeah.
So it's not like, they were killing, British citizens or killing British customs.
Yeah.
They were like saying, as long as you're trying to enforce an unjust law, you're gonna rile us up. That was the problem.
Right.
So that's the kind of the difference.
So there is an actual long history of like cancel culture, if you want to call it that, going back to the Loyalists versus the Patriots. Loyalists were trying to abide or comply with whatever Parliament and the King George III, was putting forth, despite the fact that it was against everything that they had.
It was unjust.
Yes.
It was unjust. That's the right word. That is the word to use.
Yeah.
It was unjust. And you had to obey. You had to obey.
No questions asked.
Yeah. He's our king. We have to obey him. Okay? That's not how free men work.
And that didn't sit well with the Patriots, because this wasn't strictly like, okay, we're Americans, so no, it's like, look, from all we've learned for the past 500 years that we've been in since the Magna Carta, like, this is about personal freedom. And this is about making sure that we have representation on whatever is getting put forth. So the Loyalists are wrong. It was one of those things, which is modern day, just go with the flow. If the government said to do it, then you need to do it. Well, no, this goes against everything that I was raised in, my parents were raised in, my grandparents. This goes all the way back to the founding of America. It's like, no, this goes completely against. Just do it. The judge said to do it. The mayor said to do it. The governor said to do it. The president said to do it. You have to do it.
I'm going to throw something here. That I'm hoping this isn't going to take us down a rabbit hole. But Dr. Joe Wolverton, one of the things he likes to mention is that, yes, it's one thing to support the police, but it's another to support everything that they do, even if what they're doing is unjust. And you can't. I didn't really sit and think about that because I was, the police, blah blah blah. But yeah, I mean, you don't want the police. The police have a job to do, but if they're enforcing unjust laws or some of the things that they're doing is unjust, then you got to step back and say, wait a minute, that's not how it works. Now, a lot of the Loyalists felt that, hey, look, I'm following what the king or what Parliament is stating, so I'm doing the right thing. No, you're not, because you are enabling the government to push unjust laws. So that's kind of...
And that's why, like, I don't really do the bumper sticker thing. Like, people love to do the bumper stickers with politicians and stuff, but you'll see a lot of the blue bumper stickers. It's like, police are not infallible.
Yeah. I mean, no, we do believe in supporting the police.
Correct. But I'm just saying, it's just like, when you put that forward, it's like, you got to back the blue. Like, it's sort of the Me Too movement, or like believe all women. Like, you got to back the blue in everything.
Yeah, no.
And so that's what I'm saying. It's like, everything is, to an extent, case-by-case basis. You got to fill that out. It's just like, this is not across the board that this group, this entity, this whatever gender, whatever, is across the board right in every single thing. No, it doesn't work that way. So you had Loyalists, people who were in business, who during the American Revolution that were doxxed, they were driven out of town, they were tarred and feathered because they actually complied with what the British government was trying to do. And
or they were trying to enforce it. like many of the tax collectors were,
Right.
yeah, they were trying to enforce these unjust laws, and the patriots were like, no, and a lot of it's like, especially if you read what happened, say, in Boston and some other areas.
Yeah.
Any type of officer who tried to enforce the unjust laws, they paid for it.
Yeah,
quite
like
dearly.
on John Hancock's boat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you saw that one.
Crazy.
On the John Adams series.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was pretty wild.
yeah,
That was real. Like when they put the tar on him, I was like,
Yeah, I know
"Oh,
that-
man, that hurts."
yeah. But I don't think anyone was tarred. There was a couple of guys that were beaten up trying to enforce. During the Liberty affair, there was, I think, like 3 guys that were beaten up, a father, a son, and then this other customs
The Holy
enforcer.
Spirit?
Father, son, what? Funny.
Oh, funny.
Got
funny.
it. I didn't
Very
catch
good.
that at first.
All right, so you also had later on down the road the Jim Crow era, which it came down to blacks versus whites. Like it was strictly, if you are of a certain color, we're not gonna do business with you. We're gonna shut down your business. We're gonna move you out of the businesses were burned, people were thrown out. Yeah, it's
Not
based strictly on race.
Yeah.
Based strictly on either perspective and saying, okay, if you go over there, you're not part of society anymore. Like you can't give them business anymore. Like that's cancel culture, where you're shutting somebody's business down strictly because of their race.
Well, I mean, that happened in Germany in the 30s, where, okay, if this is a Jewish-owned business,
Yeah.
The brown shirts, they stood in front. You're not going in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wild.
Yeah.
So you see like black and white videos of this, stuff going on. They were trying to do sit-ins, different things like that. Freaking crazy. HUAC. You like this era, the McCarthy era.
I thought it was needed. I
Yeah.
mean, but the thing is that there were communist infiltrators in Hollywood.
Right.
Okay. Now, we had a discussion.
But it got to the point where, but they were like, give names. Like, I don't know anybody. And even if they weren't a communist, they're like, we don't care. Give us some names so we can have another person to talk to and try to get to somebody else, anybody else.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there were a lot of people. What is it? Elias Kazan, I think. Ronald Reagan, Walt Disney, Ayn Rand, and they spoke in support of of HUAC. But then you had another group that was against it. Danny Kaye, and you had Humphrey Bogart, Lauren Bacall. Now here's, you and I were having this discussion, and there were a lot of good movies that came out by blacklisted writers. Spartacus, Bridge on the River Kwai, which is one of my favorite movies.
Bridge on the River Kwai?
Kwai. Don't touch me. Don't
Tear.
touch me. Don't touch me. Bridge on the River Kwai. Now, here's the thing, and this is what my philosophy has been with whether you're a newscaster. This is why I don't like Chris Wallace. But I don't have a problem with some of the people on MSNBC. If you're a communist or you're a communist sympathizer, state that you are, okay?
Right.
MSNBC states pretty much, we're left wing. This is why Bernie Sanders, I don't have a problem with Bernie Sanders because he states, I'm a socialist.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, he's not deceiving anybody. We know what we're getting with someone like him. But then when you get your Bidens or your Kamala? What the hell is her name? Is it Kamala or Kamala?
I don't even know if she knows what her name is.
I don't-
I know Joe Biden doesn't know what her name is.
Yeah, probably not. But I keep hearing Kamala, whatever. Kamala. Reminds me, there was a wrestler by that name. Kamala the Ugandan Warrior, if you remember Houston wrestling. But I don't know. I don't know what her name is. But let's say Harris. Harris. If you're a communist sympathizer or if you're a socialist, Kamala. The Ugandan Warrior. But if you're a sympathizer, just state it.
Yeah.
If you're proud of being a communist or a socialist, then state it. I'm proud to be a conservative libertarian. That's what I am.
Are you?
Yeah. I'm not a Republican. They're they're driving me nuts.
Yeah.
Some like John Kasich, the Bushes, I can't stand them anymore.
Yeah. No.
I don't like any of the Bushes.
Garbage
Maybe
town.
maybe that John P. Bush, he seems to have a good head on his shoulder, but some of the others, forget it.
Forget it.
Yeah, forget it. So,
Trash.
but just just state it what you are. Because, there was a funny story about Humphrey Bogart. He spoke out in defense of many of these blacklisted writers. Sterling Hayden, for instance, he played Jack D. Ripper in that was that one movie with Dr. Strangelove.
Oh, okay.
I think that was his name. He was also the cop that was shot in Godfather. Remember he's having dinner with
in the dinner.
Yeah, that guy. Well, he's told Humphrey Bogart, "I'm not a communist." Well, when Bogart was testifying in people like his defense, only to find out later on these guys were communists. And there's a funny quote where he sees Danny Kaye, and he said, "Those fudgers made a fool of me," or something like that.
Did you say fudgers?
No, but this is a family show, so
okay.
it's kind of like that Ralphie kid.
Oh yeah, Christmas Story.
Fudge.
All right. Well, the thing is with the HUAC situation is there was infiltration. You did need to find out if there were like subversion tactics being used. So yes, you need to find that out. But just because somebody has a very polar opposite political perspective or even ideology than it's un-American to bring them forward and prosecute them strictly because they have a different ideology.
Correct.
So as destructive as that ideology may be, now if they're a spy, if they're doing things that are like subversive tactics, obviously you need to find those people and go after them and be like, okay, we need to figure out what's going on here and who's your handler and different things like that. But to just go after someone strictly because of their race, strictly because of their ideology, no.
And to shut them down, that's un-American.
Yeah.
It is.
And there was a moment with Tipper Gore back in the day where she was going out against, certain unhealthy music for kids, and she's wanting to shut it down. And people were like, "Who is this chick?" And
it's Al's wife.
It's Al's wife.
That was,
It's unbelievable. So
and she worked with Jim Baker's wife too.
Really?
Yeah, Jim Baker, the guy.
The
not the preacher. This was Bush's Secretary of State. And that guy.
Huh.
Yeah, his wife got involved with Tipper Gore.
Yeah,
the irony of that,
Just really, really weird. But guess what? The market decided, like, you shut your mouth, lady, and we're going to listen to our music, the music that we want to listen to.
Now, I did like the fact that they did put a warning. I did kind of like that because, for the parents, yes, they should have it. But that really should be as far as it goes.
But it also gives, it's sort of like the whole COVID situation. Give the information, the true information about this disease or this illness, and then let people decide what they want to do. It's sort of like the MPAA rating on movies. If it's R, PG-13, PG, let us see that. Why is it rated R? Okay, we can make a decision on our own. If we don't mind swearing and killing, but we don't like the sexual content, okay, we won't watch it, right? But just information, not we got to shut everything down.
Yeah.
So that's another issue with pointing out some of the historical factors or historical moments in American history of this happening before, is people will easily say, well, we've had this before. So it's just part of American history. It's just part of things like that. That's not a good idea. This is like the type of history you don't want to repeat. This is destructive history. So you don't want to repeat cancel culture. So where we are now, we need to end that.
Yeah. But again, this is what troubles me is the fact that people can justify it. Now, this is precisely why we have a constitution. Okay, some of the people were stating, well, times have changed, the people have changed, demographics have changed. Therefore, if Dr. Seuss offends a certain segment of society, we need to ban it. No, that's not how it works.
No.
This is why we have a constitution. This is why we have an amendment process. Yes, I know there's a difference between what the constitution is to put a muzzle on the government, but private business, okay, you know what? It's all the same philosophy, okay? That's how you have to kind of look at it. Let the market decide. Yes, the constitution does not cover private businesses, but private businesses should learn from the constitution and don't make the decision for me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll make up my own decision. If I don't want to watch Seinfeld, which I love Seinfeld, but if I don't want to watch Seinfeld, don't make the decision for me. Just like I'm not going to make the decision for you so that you can't watch The View or MSNBC or CNN or whatever.
Yeah. So there was a letter, and we discussed this, I think, shortly after it came out, the letter against cancel culture that was posted or that was written or published in Harper's Magazine. And this was signed off by a ton of big name people, a number of people that I'm a big fan of, and then a number of people that I can't stand. They all signed off on this and said, this has got to end. And they begged against cancel culture, while at the same time sort of advocating for cancel culture. It was a really strangely written letter to those who were engaging in cancel culture, because they were like, stop doing this, because there's some on that list that have been canceled. And they're like, we've got to stop doing this. It's sort of, that phrase that revolutions eat their own.
Yep.
This is, a lot of people are like, well, this is why they're writing this letter. So the thing is like, they wrote this letter while circling the wagons to protect themselves, but at the same time protecting themselves by blaming Donald Trump and quote unquote right-wing ideologues or demagogues. And it's like, you're blaming, and it's like, they bring up right-wing extremists. They're the ones who are typically engaging in this. It's just like, why are you writing this letter? Are you writing it because of right-wingers? Or are you writing it because of leftists? Like, what is your reason for writing this? Because if your reason for writing this letter is because of right-wing extremists, then why don't you direct it to the right-wingers?
Did you say that correctly?
Yeah.
I'm even getting tough.
I know, it's tough, ain't it?
I'm glad you're saying
You know what
it,
I'm
not
saying?
me.
It's
Yeah.
like, you wrote this while at the same time blaming people on the right. And it's like, but the reason you're writing it is because the people on the left. It's like,
Yeah.
so what are you doing?
Oh, Bill Maher is one of the people that is saying, it's the modern liberal, it's the new liberal that's doing all this. There's a difference between being a liberal and being a leftist.
Yeah.
And and he does kind of lean to the left, but at the same time he recognizes the dangers of the woke mob and the cancel culture. He's spot on
He
many
is spot
things he
on
says.
on a lot of stuff. And the thing is, in a lot of ways, I don't agree with what he says.
Kind of reminds me of Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard she's warning people.
Yeah.
Guys, y'all are going in a direction that's completely un-American.
Yeah. And what's funny is Barry Weiss, who I had mentioned earlier, she was a New York Times columnist. She got canceled, right? Before she got canceled, she was on Joe Rogan, verbally canceling what's-her-face, Tulsi Gabbard. And
She
you're
was
like,
canceling Tulsi Gabbard?
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
It's just like, oh, okay. And she's like, oh, no, she's a blah, 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 blah. And Joe Rogan's like, really? I didn't think so. And she's like, no, I'm pretty sure. And like, oh, you're pretty sure. Like, oh, look it up. Like, and then she's like, well, okay, maybe and I'm like, this is part of you're part of the problem, sweetheart. It's like, you're canceling people. And then once that pit bull comes around the corner and bites you in the butt, you're like, oh, no. And sorry to some of my friends who own pit bulls. I know that you guys are big fans. But I was trying to figure out, what's the most vicious dog?
Pitbull also?
Huh?
There's a singer named
There is.
Pitbull.
Dude, he went off about what's going on in cancel culture. And he's like, this is communist. He's like, me and my parents, we came from Cuba. So we know what this is. He went off. Great piece. If you run across it, Pitbull. I don't like his music. Don't care about the whole, that whole genre of music anyways. But
Yakov
really
Smirnoff.
good stuff.
Yakov Smirnoff back in the 80s would talk about how it was free. He was free to make jokes about anything in America, but in Russia, the only joke he can make about is the weather. That's it. You can't make jokes about the party
Yeah.
because the party will come and
Yeah.
you know.
And that's what's happening
Yeah.
here, and that's why it is political. There was a good quote in the letter that was written. It said, "The result has been to steadily narrow the boundaries of what can be said without the threat of reprisal. We are already paying the price in greater risk aversion among writers." This is what you call self-censorship. That's a real issue. And I'm having to fight it myself mentally. I'm like, self-censorship. I have to get over that hump. And that's the problem. I've got friends who will come out of the woodwork to throw BS. Like, they'll just straight up lie about something. And I've had to call out, like, dude, you're not even telling the truth about this subject, and yet you're blasting me on social media.
Mm-hmm.
But what you're saying is not even the truth. But you've already said it, and that's part of it. We got to wear down people to where they'll give up the fight.
Yeah.
They'll just stop.
That's exactly what it is.
It's like, okay, well, explain why Christopher Columbus. Like, explain that. Like, oh my gosh, I got to freaking write a book now in order to undo what Howard Zinn did. Now you got to, and it is very tiresome. I get that. And you have to say, look, what you just said is false, and here's why. And that person will still go,
They'll sit there. You know what?
agree to disagree.
You know what?
Whatever.
No, some of them will say to me, "Can you prove that he didn't say it, or can
Exactly.
you prove that he didn't do it?" I'm like, what?
And then all of a sudden,
Wait, that's not how it works.
And now it's on you.
Yeah, that's not how it works. You're accusing him of something. The onus is on you. You have to prove that he did it. I don't have to prove that he didn't do it because you can't do that.
Yeah, and society has been twisted to the point where eyes are on that person and they say, "Can you prove it?" And the eyes go back on you. Like, "Can you prove it?"
Yeah, someone who was
and now it's like, "Oh, you're
there was a guy I knew that stated that Ann Coulter said this, blah 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 blah, and I was like, Ann Coulter never said that. Show me a video where she said that. And one of his friends said to me, "Can you prove she didn't?" And I'm like,
yeah,
you can't. You're making the accusation. Show me the evidence that she actually made that quote.
It's the Kill
And
a
they
Mockingbird.
can't. They can't do that.
Prove that you didn't rape that woman.
Yeah.
But she's saying you did.
Yeah.
Prove that you didn't. How can I prove that I didn't?
Yeah.
She's saying that I did. She's a freaking liar. Prove that she's a liar. That is where we are, man. It is tiring.
Yeah.
And it is one of those things like, we will wear you out to where you can't fight anymore.
You know what? The demographics are changing. Society's changing. They can do whatever they want now. That's the line that people say. It's a private company. Private company can do what they want. That's capitalism.
Yeah.
That's what they'll say. They're justifying it. I see it in social media. People are justifying everything that's happening. And they're letting it happen. This is, I'm reminded of James Madison. What degree of madness? Mm-hmm. Another quote from Dr. Joe Wolverton.
Well, it's actually a quote from James
But
Madison.
It's a quote from James. No, but the book.
But he wrote a book.
Yeah. But yeah, he's like, the American people are not going to allow this.
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, they are. We've allowed a lot of crap.
Yeah.
So this letter goes on to say, we are already paying the price in greater risk aversion among writers, artists, and journalists who fear for their livelihoods if they depart from the consensus or even lack sufficient zeal and agreement. Sufficient zeal and agreement. It's like the whole, it's not enough. Oh, you didn't. Oh, you're not completely on board. I agreed, but you didn't agree completely.
Yeah.
You
weren't loud
convince
enough.
me. You didn't convince me.
Yeah. You weren't loud enough.
It's North Korea. When you're at the funeral, you cried too hard. Come with us.
Yeah.
Freaking weird, man. So power in the hands of the masses. This is a bit of a French Revolution.
When Joseph Stalin did a speech, if you didn't clap hard enough,
or long enough,
if you were the first person to stop clapping, the party came and paid you a visit.
Yeah.
So they had to come up with a bell.
Yeah.
A bell would ring to indicate, okay, you can stop clapping now. But yeah, people were afraid. I mean, there was applause I heard something where there was an applause that lasted for over an hour.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's 100% true, but yeah.
Well, I know in Gulag Archipelago, the Alexander Solzhenitsyn book, he's talking about the clapping went on, and he's like going like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and like on the 12th to 13th minute, like the owner of the place finally sat down, and then everybody finally stopped clapping and sat down. And they came and got that guy immediately after the event was over. It was like, that is a lesson that you never are the first one to stop clapping. Mm-hmm. But it's like, you can't clap forever. You got to eventually stop clapping. This is a bit of a French Revolution style power grab, if you will. People are given power when they've always felt like they were powerless. And this is, I sort of akin this to the Twitter mob. Like, these are like nobodies who jump on board with tens of thousands of other people who say, oh, so, evil, so wicked, what a terrible person. Oh, just the worst, They're like, well, everybody's getting on this. I can be part of this and shut down somebody who's powerful or rich or famous. I can do this. The power is now exploited by the ideological leaders. And they love this because it empowers them even more. And these are celebrities. These are famous people. These are some of the people that we were talking about, like the Barry Weiss, who's like, oh, no, Tulsi Gabbard, terrible person. She was, one of these ideological leaders. Yeah. And it's just like, all of a sudden,
that reminds me of Trotsky. Yeah. He
came and got him.
Yep, they came and they killed him in Mexico.
Yes, they did.
Took a while, but they got him.
They got him. Yeah, but before they killed him, they killed everybody related to him.
Yeah.
Freaking wild. The powerless with this power. The powerless with this power are not willing, and that's the scary thing. They are not willing to give up this power since they have no chance of becoming the victim of this power. Why? Because they're nobodies. These are people with, you get on Twitter and you see these people like interact with, these cancel culture moments. 10 followers, 100 followers. They're following like 10,000 people. They've got 500 followers. These are like nobodies. And I don't mean that like derogatory, but these are nobodies. They're not going to suffer the same consequences as somebody who is famous, who is known. So they have nothing to lose if by not relinquishing this power that they have. Zero. The only chance of becoming a victim is to become a victim within the vacuum that it creates, Yuri Bezmenov, which doesn't happen until just about all opposing voices are removed. In other words, once the goal is reached, let's line them all up. Let's take them to the gulag.
Reminds me also of Robespierre.
Yeah.
He was one of the loudest cancel culture guys, and then off with his head. Yep, in the Reign of Terror.
Yes. And the thing is...
And listen, history repeats itself. It repeats, and, I mean, we were talking about Cuomo, Andrew Cuomo. I mean, he was all part of this, and now they're going after him.
Super powerful person.
Yeah.
Super powerful.
I mean, people were considering he run for president.
Yep.
And now look at him. Now look at him. It's like that scene in Scarface. Look at you now.
Yeah. So there is a rising through the ranks of cancel culture. So this is all stuff that you have to really pay attention to. There is a rising through the ranks through cancel culture. You rise through it through cancel culture.
Look at AOC, the way she's treating Nancy Pelosi. It's funny. I mean, I kind of get a laugh at it, but it's like, okay, Nancy, be careful because she's going to come after you.
She's becoming super powerful.
So Nancy is scared. Nancy is having to sit and do some of her she's having to go beyond radicalness just to please and appease AOC and her little tribe.
The thing is I see this as young people seeing this as an opportunity through cancel culture to overtake the older population. And this goes right in with the Marxist ideology and the Communist Manifesto of saying that the present dominates the past. This is what's happening. Oh, this is offensive. Have you watched the movie? No. Have you read the book? No. Do you know who the author is? No. Do you know who the director is? No. But all these people want this thing done. And they told me that it's racist, or they said it's sexist, or that's offensive, that it's insensitive. It's got to go. So if I can knock out, golly, a famous film, if I can take down John Wayne's name, kudos for me.
Yeah.
There is a power trip that comes with that. The question is, what do you rise? What
that kid from the massacre, the Hog now wants to cancel Mike Lindell. Get rid of he wants to create his own pillow manufacturer so that he can
That's
shut
a kid
down.
who's going. It's going to be the Robespierre method for him.
Yeah.
I don't know when it'll happen.
I mean,
but it's going to happen.
He knows nothing about pillows, but yet he's going to create a company. And
is he the one with the Q pillow?
who, Mike Lindell?
Cube? No.
Oh,
Is he making his own?
I don't know what he's making. I don't think he even knows how to make a pillow. He knows nothing about pillow.
Yeah.
But Mike Lindell, I think his pillows are patented. So
There you go.
I don't know. I bought one of those pillows for my mom. My pillow. You should.
So I wanted to end on more or less this. Well, there's a couple of more things. Do you think, I wanted to ask you this question. Do you think there's always one side that is right at the time, or at least nominally right?
Well, I mean, it
Correct. Nominally correct.
No, there's. I mean, look, both sides have done things. I do remember. I have a buddy of mine who is left leaning. He told me that after 9/11, he felt like he was on the defensive because if you didn't wave that American flag, then you weren't American enough.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, it does kind of go back and forth, but doesn't mean that it was right. I mean, if you were not all like yay war, okay, were we wrong? Yeah, I was wrong. I'll admit it. I was wrong that I found some Americans that were not being patriotic enough. Well, we have to. I actually supported the invasion of Iraq in 2003.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, let's go in there and let's kick some ass and take some names and whatnot. Yeah. Boy, was I wrong. Mm-hmm. I was wrong. And now, but we're repeating ourselves.
Yeah.
And you better learn from it, because if you don't, again, history's going to repeat itself. And if you look at what you were saying is the young following these communist ideologies, it's what happened in the French Revolution, it's what happened in the Russian Revolution, and it did not end well for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And we have this history to learn from. We better learn from it. We better put a stop to it. We better stand up to cancel culture and the mob mentality. Otherwise, it's going to take down a lot of innocent people.
Yeah. So,
no, there is no one side is right, one side is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That answer your question?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So I want to end on this. This was a Forbes article that was written last year by Evan Gertzman. It says, in no way is contemporary cancel culture about free speech or debate. That's true. Nor is it any longer primarily about social justice. Well, maybe not, because social justice is about canceling certain people. The power to get someone fired must be a thrilling feeling. It's sort of what we've talked about. It's like just the thrill, the rush of the power that you have despite being a completely powerless person who may, have a job, may not have a job, may be in high school, may whatever. But he ends with this. What is harder to understand? And this is something that I brought up just in passing, but this is something I'm trying to wrap around in my head. What is harder to understand is why the truly powerful, those with the power to suspend and investigate professors and to fire people, are allowing this. Perhaps they fear becoming targets themselves. Whatever the reason, there is no denying that cancel culture exists and is getting worse. And that is what I am struggling to figure out, is like, how is it that these major corporations, these CEOs, these celebrities, these larger than life people, Coca-Cola, like whatever, I don't know, so many. How are they not saying, screw you, enough already? You do that in your own playground, we're not doing it here, okay? But it doesn't seem like anybody's doing that. And I think to an extent, all it takes is one to stand up and say, F you, we're not doing this.
Well, I mentioned Mike Lindell. I think Mike Lindell is one of the people who is standing up to them. And I mean, he is being attacked, and I think that is part of the reason is that. I mean, you have a snotty-nosed little kid who's sitting there saying, "I'm going to take you down because you support Trump." Okay, and he's trying to create a company. You know, a lot of these companies are scared. They're being bullied into making decisions. I really can't for the life of me understand how the people who run the Dr. Seuss group can sit there and say, you know what, let's get rid of some of our most popular books.
Yeah.
They're being bullied.
Yeah.
They are being bullied. It's not a marketing decision in terms of, hey, this is a smart marketing decision. It's more because there is a demand for some of his books. If I Ran the Zoo, there's still a demand for that book. And now, Amazon took it off. You can't buy a new copy. You have to buy it, kind of an aftermarket. And people are selling them for $300. Yeah. And this is why we mentioned some of these movies, some of these TV shows. Even Jerry Seinfeld, he's sick of it. Jerry Seinfeld is not a right-winger. Jerry Seinfeld is a Democrat.
Yeah.
But he is sick to death. He's sick to death of the cancel culture. This is why he won't even go to a college campus.
Right.
He stated it, and there have been a couple
Chris
of others.
Rock, he won't go.
Yeah, Chris Rock. They're not. I'm not going to go to a campus where some snotty-nosed little kid's going to sit there and yell at me and harass me while I'm trying to do a presentation or do a speech, and act like a brown shirt. No. So, we all have to put a stop to it. We have to stand up to it. You may not agree with what's that saying? I may not agree with what you have to say, but I'll stand up and defend your right to say it.
Your right to
okay,
say it,
I'm not a big fan of Bill Maher. I mean, I like some of the stuff he says, and there's quite a bit that I don't support. But you know what? I'll stand up for his right to say it. The View. I don't like The View. I will not watch The View, but I'll stand up for their right to have their platform broadcasted on TV as long as the market says that there's a demand for it. They have the right to speak. I'm not going to participate. I'm not going to watch it. The Last Temptation of Christ, when it came out in the 1980s, I didn't support it. But you know what? What I did, the way I participated is I didn't go see the movie.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to go and tell people, you can't go see that movie.
Yeah, I'm not going to go pick it.
Yeah. Just, you know what? If somebody wants to go see it, let them go see it. That's on them. I'm not going to watch it.
Yeah.
And that's it. And that's how you do it. Leave it at that. You don't take away other people's rights to see a movie. You don't make the decision for them. Let them decide. So there you go.
Yeah. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that brings our show to an end. And as always, we like to end on
a scripture. That's right.
So this one comes from Matthew 12, 14, and 15. I think you know who this deals with. It's talking about Jesus. He just got through healing some people. And it says, then, after he healed somebody on the Sabbath, which was against their customs, says, then the Pharisees went out and held a council against him, how they might destroy him. Sound familiar?
Sounds like they're trying to cancel him.
And they did.
Yeah,
at least for 3 days.
Good thing he didn't have an AR-15, otherwise, you know.
Yeah, or 20,000 angels with AR-15s. That'd be tight. Anyways, but when Jesus knew it, he withdrew himself from there, and the great multitudes followed him, and he healed them all. I think that in itself is, one, states the problem. You did something that we found wrong. We're going to get together, and we're going to counsel with each other and find out a way that we can destroy you. Jesus found this out or just knew it, and he was like, I know what I'll do. I'll go somewhere else, and the market will follow me, and I'll continue on and be a success.
Yep.
So
yeah, there's a market
sort of
for
like,
there's a market for Jesus.
Yeah, there you go.
You know, a lot of people buy his books. Well, maybe not his book. Well, it is his book.
It is his book. All right. Where can people find us, my friend?
Well, they can find us on Facebook, on Instagram, YouTube. I keep wanting to say Twitter, I don't know why. We
Done.
need to cancel Twitter.
We
We're going to
already-
cancel Twitter.
We need to cancel Twitter, but we
Yeah.
already canceled
Yeah.
our Twitter account.
Right. But we do have our very own website, www.thesonsofhistory.com. And you have your Thursday night live chats.
And you've got your Tuesday night. Oh, wait.
No. You know what?
Things are not still slowed down?
No, we're still working 10-hour days.
Unbelievable.
I have not had a lunch break.
Are you crying?
No, I'm trying to remember when's the last time I had a 1-hour lunch break. I
Yeah.
can't even remember when I had a 1-hour
Brutal.
lunch break. I mean, it's just, and so much work just keeps coming in. It's like I go home, I'm literally sitting on the couch, and I'm sitting there, and then like around 8 o'clock, I'm like going, okay, I got to get up, I got to work out, I got to read. I have to, because I try to read something historical every single day.
Yeah.
Get the mind.
Get the mind going.
But you got to do the exercise, so you got to do the heart. You do the head.
Yeah, heart in the head.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that you can have the guns.
The guns. The
And
guns.
they are 15s.
Word.
Yeah. Or
15 inches?
AR-50s.
Oh, okay. Nice. All right. Okay, so speaking of our website, we've got some new merchandise on there. If you're a Texan, if you're a Texas history buff, we've got our come and take it version of a coffee mug, so go check that out. We've got our t-shirts. Our History Comes in Threes t-shirts, so check those out. We've also got our hoodie. And also, April 17th, we've got an event coming up. Tickets will go on sale at the beginning of next month. It's going to be exciting. We will give you all the information about it later on. But until then, we'll talk to you later. See ya.